Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us here at Riders Meeting after a wild weekend in Nashville. I'm your host, David Pingree, joined by Bruce Murata and our buddy, Jason Lawrence, who goes by a different name today, if you can see it. Welcome to the show, boys.
Not news to most of these guys.
That's how a lot of people know you. It's cool.
Yeah.
Quick thank you to our sponsors, Rock and Turf. If you guys need some artificial grass or mats that they make, they're killer. Check them out at Rock and Turf on Instagram. Maxxis tires, truck tires, mountain bike tires, go get them. Great stuff. And then also speedstrap.com for tie downs, toe straps, really cool stuff. So check out speedstrap.com. Man, so we were just chatting a little bit about like just saying everything that could have happened and gone wrong and thrown a wrench into this thing happened. What a freaking crazy night. Where to begin? Let's just start with the 250. Was there anything that surprised you in the heats? You know, J-Law, you talked a little bit about in the 250 showdown that they were each main events. And so there's a little bit of flexing going on there. And you also called RJ to come out and win the heat and the main. And damn it, if he didn't do that, really put a stamp on it last night. So great ride from him. Anything else that stood out in those heats to you guys?
Yeah, I think, well, let's say Cochran. We're calling these heat races
fourth.
main events, fourth. Think about that. Like, dude, he qualified fourth the weekend before in Foxborough, but he was in the different practice. Track might have been different. We know how that works. Dude, you're pulling a fourth place against all the dogs right there. And I was pretty impressed right there, So you can say you count that kid in for top 5 next week. Like, dang, he's blowing it. I mean, he's blowing up is what I'm saying. But I thought the track was incredibly hard to pass. You saw in the heat race with Deegan. I mean, we watched Deegan there's more talent, but we saw Deegan in 10th place for like 3 laps. And even Kitchen, like they weren't really able to pass that much. But I don't know. I mean, it sucks to see Marchbanks go down, and nobody likes seeing that single file restart. But I mean, it was cool. Vial got his, RJ got his.
Hey, Jason, what were you saying in that first heat race? Remember, we were talking last night. It was Ryder D that should have been docked?
Or what? Yeah, you see, I watched it back though, and I don't really see it the same this time because they only had the yellow flags out the first time the riders came around for Marchbanks, and he jumped through there. Or maybe it was the next lap and I just didn't see it when I played it back. But on the broadcast, they're saying, oh man, Ryder D messed up because he jumped what would have been after the red cross flag, but where Marchbanks was in between those two. On the one lap, he jumped it. And then I was thinking, oh, dang, he's getting docked for sure, because they even called it out on the broadcast. And then they threw the red flag. So I was thinking, like, well, what happens to you now? Say that you are guilty of having jumped that, and it's blatant and you're going to get penalized. Are they going to penalize him for the restart, or are they going to penalize him after the race? But the issue never actually came up because I guess I was wrong. I guess he didn't jump on the red cross, or maybe they were just busy with something else. J-Bone's sleeping on the job. Who knows?
Well, that's an interesting point. Like I would assume on the restart, he would just be docked to position, whatever it is, right? Whatever
Which would be a great benefit. That would be like a free pass almost. That's what I was saying. I was like, dang, Ryder's going to make out right here because, now he has a chance to redeem himself. But turns out he didn't need it. But I think Ryder D, bro, it's still his rookie year. I kind of was blown away by that. But I mean, dude, he looks good. He looks so fast in the beginning of that heat race.
He does.
He's got some skills.
Payne, going back to what Jason was saying too, how this track, especially for Deegan, kind of made it hard to pass in that first heat. That was Gage Linville that made it tough on Deegan. But dude, Gage was riding good.
Yeah, it was a great ride for him. And I only know him because Ezra Lusk coaches him. And so Yogi's told me some stories about, he's just a good kid, works hard, whatever. And I hadn't really seen him till last night. I was like, hell, this kid, at least he's got some fight,
So I sponsored that kid when he was on 50s back at Alias. And he was like, at one point, I don't know.
You sponsored everyone.
But like, don't quote me on these stats, but I think he was like one of the most winning kids on like a 50 at one point. Gage was.
Where's he from?
He's got to be from Georgia. He's got to be down south.
Yeah. Yep. I want to say it was Georgia.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, solid ride for him. Let's jump into kind of the drama that happened. McAdoo gets his shoulder hurt. Now, no details on what that means. AC separation, is that actual shoulder, like rotator cuff damage? Is it a
I've had one of those,
clavicle?
buddy. I don't think you're riding with an AC separation the same day. I think a collarbone could be. He hit the ground pretty hard,
Yeah,
but
could be. I mean, if it's a low grade separation, like a grade one, I think you could. I mean, I know they hurt like a three or two or three, you're definitely not, but a low grade one, I think you could still ride. And you know, he couldn't ride at the end of the day. He tried, he could. And
yeah.
you brought up a really interesting point. This is kind of spilling over into the main, but you know, we watched him in the heat, got the last spot in, like he was lucky to make it in. And when he came over, I noticed it when he came over the finish line. As soon as he landed, he just
Yeah.
buckled to the
Yeah.
left, right? Like the left arm goes down, and you can tell he's in pain. And like I said, we're spilling over to the main, but in that main event, when he came out of the first turn down that rhythm lane, and you see him just drift left all of a sudden, take out his
What
teammate Levi
happened, dude?
Kitchen. Why did he go left? And I mean, I didn't really pay much attention, but Jason, you brought that up. Like, did his shoulder just kind of drop and he shot left
Like,
and
dude, you
take his
say
teammate out and take them both out of
that's
their.
incredibly bad luck if that's how it happened, but I think that's what happened, dude. And maybe it goes back to Bruce, like you're saying, he looked real calm on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he probably would have been doing something like whoo whoo warming up if he could move his shoulder, you know. So after he was in all that pain, where he raced the heat race and he got into the main, he sat for however long. He was cold. His pain's probably starting to set in. He ain't able to warm up. If he did the sight lap, he rolled everything. He goes
Yeah.
out there on the start, and that's the first opportunity you're putting a load on that joint. And that's exactly what's going to happen that quick. You know, like even if you save it, which he did save it, he didn't just blow off the track, but that was the weakness, I think. And it pulled him just a little bit to the side, dude. And I might be looking too far into it, but dang, that was bad for Mitch if that's what happened.
Yeah,
Super bad,
and
yeah.
yeah, and you know, you guys know how it is too. Like it's almost better like to ride like as soon as you crash and
Yeah,
get up
that was
off
the
of
heat
like
race.
yeah, but
Yep.
when you're back at the truck, you're icing that thing. The doctors are over there doing all their stuff on it. It's almost worse, you know, because then when you're just bathing it until
Yeah.
what he probably had an hour or so in between.
Yeah.
Probably close to an hour. And a great example of that is Levi Kitchen goes
Yeah,
down hard. I didn't think he was going to get up. I was actually really impressed with his effort. Sounds like, according to him on a social post, he's got some broken ribs. But like what you just said, Bruce, he goes down, he's hurt, probably knocked the wind out of himself, but he still got up, and with just the adrenaline he had going, was able to still ride and still get
mm-hmm.
a 15th or whatever he got. So that's the difference. And Cameron, like you said, when it gets cold, and they can do a shot of Toradol, it's the only drug that those guys can push
That
prior
stuff
to a race.
worked.
It
That
does
worked.
work, but it's
Yeah.
essentially like a high dose ibuprofen is all it is.
Well,
It's nothing
I'm saying
crazy.
for McAdoo, he might have been able to race the whole main event. It was just that maybe he wasn't expecting it to be like that tough when he was
Yeah,
out there riding. And that was his first time to really test it. And what a bad time to realize, dang, it's not quite strong enough. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been able to tough it out toward all or not, because he did get up and spin, two more laps before he knew he just couldn't do it. Maybe he should have laid and played possum in the middle of the track and tried to call for a red flag so Levi could have got back up there.
That would have been a good teammate right there. Just
Yeah,
spread
back
yourself
outside
out
the
on the
box.
triple.
Yeah.
All right. So the rest of that main event kind of played out like I thought. I mean, like you said, RJ took off. He was on it all night long and just looked amazing. It was kind of a boring race. I thought, like, there wasn't a ton of battling going on.
Well, what was the lap times here? They were like 50 seconds for the 450s,
yeah,
right? Well, I
yeah. I
noticed
think
that, which it was pretty crazy to see. Like we don't get to see two red plates on the timing board at once often. And dude, me and my grandpa watched the race together, and we're joking and we're saying, "Hey, what does the red plate mean? Like they're up for elimination because they're running in the bottom of the board, last and next to last for the whole beginning of of the main, and I looked, and Levi was 50 seconds behind RJ. Now he didn't get lapped. He didn't get lapped, right? So he was obviously running fast, dude. To not get lapped, you figure it's only 5 seconds or so that for RJ to have called him. So he was riding good, dude. But yeah, he must have. I don't know if he hit his head or hit his chest, but he made a good recovery.
The way it looked like to me is when he went in, and this happens a lot to people, you fall on your elbow, and your elbow digs in and breaks those ribs. And that's how he went in, was just like with his arm underneath him. So my guess is it knocked the wind out of him. Who knows if he fractured one or two or how many, but it sucks when you get the wind knocked out of you. I don't care how tough you are. You got to lay there for a minute and get your crap together. Yeah. But once he got up, I think it set in like, oh my gosh, I got to salvage something right now.
Well, I thought as soon as he got up, I'm like, oh, it's over for him, And then towards the end of the race, where he started like picking off those guys, I think the last battle was with Thrasher, right?
That's who he caught up to,
yeah. But I was like, dang, he looked really good. Like,
I mean, that was a big pile up of guys down in that, man. It was the 2 red plates, Deegan got going right in the beginning, Thrasher. I was like, man, that was a big mix-up right there.
Yeah, and we've talked before, like last week in Sight Lap. Shimoda's a guy who could get in here and steal points and really change this up. He did exactly that. Great ride for Joe in second. Vial, super smart ride, 3rd place, but opened up his points pretty fat. Great ride for Jalik Swollen in 5th too. I think he keeps getting better and better. I mean, for him to come into this showdown and get a 5th, that's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Then you got Deegan, Anstey, Hymas, Beaumare, and Nicoletti. Were you guys surprised? I was a little surprised to see Deegan kind of, I don't want to say flounder, but he just didn't shine like I thought he would.
On this. He actually ran into, in that crash thing when he got going in the second corner, he ran right into Anstey, he said, and it bent his radiator, so his front fender was hitting his radiator the whole time, and he was struggling. So it slowed his progress. Yeah. And I think with Levi too, man, it's a shame that was his, you get the wind knocked out of you. It's like, dang, like that sucks, because really we all know you're not getting up and going anywhere, no matter how tough you are, until you get your wind back. I didn't know if he was just maybe knocked out, or if he was just thinking like, oh, I'm hurting in some other way. But that sucks, because once he got up and got going, seemed like he was circulating, and then he realized, dude, there's like 7 or 8 guys right in front of him. And there was a moment where I like thought to myself, dude, he could get all the way up to like about like 12th or 11th. It looked like he had like only 7 or 8 seconds on those guys. So sucks, because if he could have got up and started jamming just a few seconds sooner, he probably could have called a whole different pack. But good for the championship.
Yeah, it's going to make it interesting. And they've got a little break now, so he's got a couple weeks, but is that enough time to heal broken ribs? I've only ever separated them. I've never actually broken ribs. Have you guys ever ridden with broken ribs?
Dude, I haven't, but I would not have told anybody that I had broken ribs. Why is he saying? Why would you say that? Do you think RJ's mad about that? He's gonna poke you, buddy.
In the tunnel. Good luck, bud.
Yeah, good luck.
Give me some tapping.
Competition, knowing that anyway. Like, even I don't know. I just wouldn't want them to know that.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
You got anything else? Anything else on these things? Like,
I got too much. On what topic?
Are we thinking McAdoo's out then? Like, what do you guys think in this title chase?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's going to be tough. I think Vial is going to walk away with this thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't hear, unless you guys heard. I heard nothing from his camp about what the injury is, how bad it is. But if you can't ride when it happens, I don't know what the odds are of you racing 2 weeks later and not being in a lot of pain. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
For McAdoo, I think that ship sailed. And really, honestly, I mean, that sucks, because that dude he's had some ups and downs, but Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to go back on. I know I'm like a seesaw over here, teeter-tottering, but I'm gonna go back with the VL for the championship simply because Hayden's now 13 points out. With only two, or what's he got? Three times Hayden will go, or only two
Yeah,
races?
two more. You got Philly and then the Salt Lake
Okay,
Showdown. But
so well, I had it set up before to where I thought Hayden, if he would have beat VL in three races, he would have tied him for the title and won on wins. Now that that's out of the question, I think VL is too good of the championship pedigree guy to Hayden's not going to be able to make him ride in a bad zone and make him make a mistake, dude. He's just done it too many times.
although Jason, look what happened this weekend though, dude. RJ
Yep.
was down how many points? And now
Yep.
looky, he's leading by 2.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
We get to like predicting, oh, I think this is gonna, and it's like this kind of crap happens. And the final in Vegas, another showdown. So we could have the same thing, like it could just throw the points totally up in the air again.
I love the showdowns. I heard RJ say in the press conference, he was like, get rid of the triple crowns and replace them with the showdowns if you need more action. And I love that because the triple crown creates a scenario that you'll never find in Supercross where there'll be situations where there's absolutely nothing to gain for the guy to make a pass. You know what I mean? Once you start figuring in the overalls, where in the outdoors, yeah, that happens with the overall, but you're always getting paid points. So you always have at least 1 point it's worth to pass that guy. You'll really find situations where in the third race, there's no reason for the guy in third to pass the guy in second. It implicates the rest of the results. And it's like the Triple Crowns, I don't dig those. And I was happy to finally hear another rider say, like, I don't dig them. Besides just saying, we don't want to do 3 starts. Because,
No, that's an interesting point. I've been on the fence about those because there's been some good ones where the action's good because it's bunched up, but then there's been some where if the track doesn't have a lot of passing, you don't get to a point like late in the race where a guy who kind of charges later on, he never gets to do that, right? Like a Cooper Webb who comes on strong at the end, or a Tomac. You never get to see those like rallies the last 8 laps.
Yeah.
And there's just something hits a little different when the guy comes across the finish line in third place and celebrates.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I know. It's nice to just have a clean main event. Like the winner of this is the winner, right? We don't have to do math. I hate math. All right, let's so good stuff. Do you want to go through the points real quick here, Bruce?
Yeah,
West and East.
Yeah, so we'll start with the West. So Hampshire leading with 166. That made my night, by the way. Levi Kitchen second with 2 down. Third, Jordan Smith, 18 down. Fourth is Joe Shimoda, 28 points down. Fifth, Garrett Marchbanks, 45 points down. Sixth is Julian Bemer, 60 points down. Seventh is Anthony Bourdon, 71 points down. Eighth, Nate Thrasher with 77 points down. Ninth, Carson Mumford, 78 points down. 10th is Phil Nicoletti, 89 points down. Now going to the East, leading will be Tom Vial at 136. Second, Hayden Deegan with 13 points down. Third is Cameron McAdoo with 16 points down. Fourth, Pierce Brown at 20 points down. Fifth, Cody Schock at 31 points down. Sixth is Max Anstein with 42 points down. Seventh, Jalik Swoll with 47 points down. Eighth is Daxon Bennick, 48 points down. Ninth, Chance Hymas, 52 points down. And 10th is Henry Miller with 62 points down. Now, I want to throw something in there. Yes, I'm a Hampshire fan. So is J-Law. So are you, Ping, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Kitchen fan too. I don't really have a horse in this race.
I just like
So RJ did win Denver last year.
Oh, we know.
Look at Bruce get excited.
Hey, who did he beat though? Who did he beat at Denver last year though? Who was his competition?
Kitchen.
Oh, that's right.
Kitchen got
probably
second.
got the whole shot though, and just led the whole thing, right? No. Actually, what happened? No, yeah, he caught up and passed him. Oh, yeah, that big went off on the triple, and then he caught back up and passed him again. I think he's got it.
Oh, it's gonna be interesting. It'll be good.
It'll be interesting.
Hey, but let's say one thing though. I didn't really realize McAdoo, buddy. He said 16 points down.
and Jason, like we were saying, dude, RJ came into this, what, 15 points down?
Yeah, well, now that I'm thinking about it, so if I'm McAdoo, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel and saying, maybe Hayden's going to go out there and go for broke and put McAdoo down and open the points up. Whoa, he's got 2 shots to do it, and if he's healthy enough. Broken leg, broken rib, separated shoulder, though, bud. You might need more than a PC pipe to pull you through that. If you got all these.
All of Mitch's porting in the world isn't going to get that, make that any easier. They each have 2 rounds left, right? We're in Philly this weekend.
Yeah.
And then Denver, then the Vegas. That's East, West, and then the Vegas showdown. So
Salt Lake.
Or sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant.
It's all right. It's been Vegas for how many years?
Vegas forever.
Vegas is super motocross this year.
Yeah, well, at least we are going back to Vegas for the final. That'd be cool. All right, let's look at the Rock and Turf 450 class here. Anything from the heat stand out, you guys? Anything you want to touch on before we jump to the main? Because there's a lot going on in this main event.
Yeah. Let's say that. Well, Kenny was looking fast, but then how about AC? Okay, AC whole shotted the practice start in practice, and he fist pumped the triple, and the crowd went wild. Then he got his second place in that heat race, and he fist pumped the finish line. The crowd went wild. Yeah. Well, what about when Hunter Lawrence passed him? Dude, the crowd booed. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, did they? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, about that. He made a clean pass, bud. Like, I don't know about that.
Everyone just, they kind of think like, oh, let him win. He's retiring, But
yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know about the crowd though booing the guy getting passed. Like that was kind of reminiscent of like Travis Pastrana type things. Like I didn't like that. I think that was kind of weak, but that was cool to see Cincerillo get his little shine right there. He should have just put him over the berm if he's got that much crowd support.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna win it.
I know, I did too.
It would have been cool to see him.
Did too, because Carmichael thought the second to last lap was the last lap, clearly on the broadcast. He was like, he's gonna cut out. Oh! And then they're like, one more lap, Rick. He was like, oh.
If he gets through this corner, he's good. I'm thinking, why? What's with that one corner? All right. So, man, this main event, where do we even start here? Ken Roczen was like,
dude,
what was going on with him those first few laps?
Dude, he was ripping in like that section. That was the first time I had seen it where Sexton ended up crashing. How he doubled
in. Yeah.
Hayden Deegan did that in practice before they lowered the first single. There was the 3 singles, and they ended up lowering the first one.
Oh, I didn't see that.
All 3 of them were identical in the beginning, and Hayden Deegan doubled it. He doubled the second too. No one else that I saw even did it in practice, and he got the fastest time. And he went on the thing and, like, of course, did what he did. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got the fastest time. Wow, if I got the fastest time, I'm going to be real good in the race. Holy crap, what happened? So he smoked him. He had that line. But, I mean, yeah, go ahead, though, because are you going to talk about how those guys were just developing new lines throughout the race? Because that was
cool. I just thought Roczen those first couple laps was just on fire, dude.
Well, yeah, Roczen in the heat race did that line, the double to the outside, and then he tripled before the whoops. And Tomac saw that. No one else did that. Tomac saw it, so then Tomac was geared up to do that on the first lap, which he did. Crazy, like, canny ability for Roczen to follow him over that double across the start on the first lap. Like, how did he know he was going to do it? Right, so he follows him out there.
Oh, yeah.
He does the line right in front of him, dude, and Roczen follows him over it.
That's pretty a good point.
Because Tomac even said in there, he's like, yeah, well, I already knew Kenny was doing it. I wasn't the one who started it. But then what happened with that line is they were able to get, or since the inside before the wall was such a deep rut, guys started breaking out of it. And then those guys saw that. Like, they saw that while they were still going outside, and they started rolling the double, catching the inside, breaking out, and seat bouncing it from the inside. And then that's when Jett started doing it too. By that time, Kenny Shock had enough. He could only do that thing like 6 times. He saw it blew out right on the lane.
Yeah.
What do you know about Chase, though? Chase got roosted with a rock, and his throttle housing broke and stuck right there. That's what happened on his crash.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I heard that too, and I kind of a little bit of an eyebrow raiser to me, but we'll get there. Let's talk about these lines first of all, because there was that rhythm lane too where Jett almost crashed, kind of
Yeah.
got bucked and came up
Yeah.
short. They started doing that differently. They doubled that thing across the start, then transitioned to the inside and tripled that thing. Like their ability, this is something that these really, really high level guys have is that ability to still keep your eyes open. Even if your
Whoa.
line's working, like doubling to the outside, that was still good. Like what makes you go, oh, there's an inside now? And how do you even see it, right? You're doubling into the turn and somehow you see that line and make that switch. Like,
Well, if you see it, it's crazy because Eli's in the lead and is being followed on the double across the start each time. Now, Roxon sees and scouts out that inside line and takes it first. Tomac doesn't look back, but apparently he could tell or feel that Roxon cut to the inside, drifted out, and still got the triple. Very next lap, Tomac, same thing. I was like, dude, Jett
Yeah.
never even really messed with the double going to the outside. And as far as that other rhythm section, those dudes, I mean, that was like first lap. That I think the transitions were drying out or something. But Eli with that different line, like when I did the track breakdown, yeah, I thought there was going to be a huge line through there. But the line that ended up being the biggest, fastest line is what I thought was going to be the average Joe's line, double over the table, 3-3. Like, dude, when he was getting that, that was so fast. His whole track changed from the finish line landing all the way until the entrance of the whoops, a completely different rhythm than the heat race.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
That's
it's
wild.
crazy how they, and it's hard, you guys have probably both done this where I've had this happen where you, in the heat, you didn't jump something. And then through like the semis or whatever, back when we had semis, you'd see somebody start to jump something. You're like, oh crap. Or you see video, hey, so and so was doing this. You got to do it. And you
Yeah,
just
well,
got to
we got
go
the
into the
dark fish
main.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. They got all that. They've got everybody watching tape. But I've had those situations where you got to go out in the main and either do it on the parade lap, which sometimes doesn't happen because
Anaheim
people are
2
rolling.
quadruple. You probably didn't want to dump that
I
quad,
didn't
huh?
jump it. I didn't jump it. I let Danny Smith have it. But
Yeah.
it's really tough. Like to just pull the trigger on something like that in the main. And they pulled the trigger on multiple things, adapted mid race. Like it was really, really cool to watch.
Well, it's really hard to do something like that and pull the trigger on it, like as far as getting over the mental like blockage of wanting to do it. But it's also really hard to do something like that without being able to get yourself like one or two like I'm gonna do it and then back out, to see if you really think you have it. Well, you're not doing that in the middle of the race. Or I'm sure at the test track, boy, we'd love to jump off to the side and make sure we got it first.
Yeah.
Well, when you don't get that, the next best thing is, yeah, maybe you can follow someone through it. Well, at the practice, these dudes ain't letting you follow crap. Yeah, you see it on the Darthfish, but then in the race, yeah, they're going to jump it. And you might have one time where you're still in contact with them to look at it, and then you're going to jump it. But Chad Reed would do that shit in like the 07s. He would step up to the Bubba's line in the main event like all the time. I never understood how.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just those really, really high level guys. RC, Bubba, Reedy, they all did it. Jeremy would pull kind of stuff like that, but it was impressive. Okay, let's talk about Kenny's exit from the race. I watched it happen. And I was like, "Whoa, smoke bomb!" Remind me of that old video game. Was it Ivan Stewart, where you could hit a little smoke screen and it would just like blow everyone out behind you? I saw
I
that
don't
thing
know.
go, and I'm all, "Oh, that's a shock." And then about halfway through the whoops, he starts bucking, and I guess the whole thing, all that's just oil, right? When he landed, he said the bottom of the canister came off or broke. The oil dumps. That's the oil hitting the pipe and smoking. And then as the oil leaves the shock, it's just a spring. He was on a pogo stick after about 4 or 5 whoops in, and man, he got bucked. That was
I mean,
radical.
how often have both of you heard of that even happening?
Well, I'm pretty sure that same thing just happened to McElrath 7 days ago, did it not? Didn't his shock
Mm.
just blow out at Foxborough? He pulled
Hmm.
off a DNF because of it. So that's concerning, I would say. But I thought it was crazy how Ricky says, Well, he went over the bars because he has all that oil on the side of his bike, and damn, that must have been true. I've never had that happen. I've never.
That's why.
Dang, what a bad deal, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like how it even happens. I mean, it's just like you don't really hear it too often. Like, I mean, Jason, your whole career, you haven't really had an issue like that, or have you heard of anyone that happening to?
Well, not really, but I mean, Kenny kind of broke it down on his post about what happened. Like he must have had like a tech explain it to him because he talks about how it blew out the bottom and all the oil came out. But I don't know. I hope that stuff was maximal oil though, for real.
Well, the weird thing was too, if you watched it, right? I don't. The thing Ricky said about it just being slippery, that the way that shock is, the body sits, the oil would have only been on one side.
Yeah.
That's a whole extra layer as far as I'm concerned. He was having that same crash otherwise. If Ricky didn't even say the oil, then I would be like, yeah, that thing pogoed and kicked him over.
When I
heard the oil, I was like, oh man, you're really screwed.
When you have no oil, I mean, there's no dampening or rebound, like nothing. It's just a spring. And so when he went deep into that one whoop. I think it was like 3 from the end, and it was just like lights out. That thing was shooting him. And what was crazy, if you watch the video again, as the bike gets about vertical, that shock, something exploded. You see the bike like kind of
and it almost looked like the motor locked up on the last whoop, right? Like Bubba at Southwick on the Cowie when he endoed and that locked up and it just threw him over the bars. But I watched Kenny too in the previous lap. I was watching that from somebody who videoed from the stands and put it on there. And I'm like waiting to see that angle. And I was expecting it to be this lap. So I was watching. And when he lands, which turns out to be the lap before it blows out, it looks like, dude, he lands and maybe it's just a hard landing. But I would say his shock was messed up already. You know, like, I guess maybe when it blows and we see it and it's obvious. But I don't know. Like, I really don't know.
Hey, and let me go back, you guys, to where like, and I've seen like a shock bolt break, a linkage break to where the whole bike just sags, you know, but like an actual explosion like that, I've never seen that before.
No, that was wild. And I would guess he's got either left ankle or knee injury, because when the way he kind of went in was at an angle and he put his foot out and just all the weight came down on it.
Yeah, he said he has MRIs on Monday. He's got left foot and ankle and like knee. He wants to get checked out, but he thinks he's all right. You saw what he told his wife and kid when he was on the back of the mule. That's the true tell right there. He told him like, nah, he's all right. Don't even run. So.
Did he? I didn't see that. Yeah. That's telling. That's good. Okay. So
he also did this. I don't know if it was for the fans or if it was for you, Ping, but on the way out, you know how we do the traditional thumbs up? This must be a German thing. Like he's like, they might have hit his head.
He wasn't thanking his shock technician, I can tell you that.
Quite the opposite on the Instagram post, actually.
So, all right, let's get to Chase Sexton's crash, since we're talking about crashes. I was like, man, what did I just see? Like when I heard the thing about the rock hitting the housing and breaking his throttle housing, first of all, those are all billet that they use. Man, I don't know. Just feel, and they all run a little carbon fiber cover.
I can see it maybe being something more of where it hit, and you know, right where your cable comes out, and it's that plastic piece. And I may be wrong. There's may not be, but you know,
there's this billet.
Cable.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's the billet housing now, right there where your cables go in. That could get mashed with something and break the plastic things and not let your throttle return. I've kind of had that happen before.
But the weird thing was, he was behind there was a Suzuki in front of him. I don't even know who it was.
It was wasn't it Kenny? I don't know. He was kind of far up there. Barsha was right behind him. I thought maybe Ando was right in front of him.
Maybe it was even a lapper, but what I'm saying is there wasn't a bike right in front of him throwing roost. The guy was like already over that first jump before Chase even came out of the turn. So if that actually happened, I'm thinking the rock must have got thrown earlier then. Like,
I don't know. Been earlier.
I mean, here's the deal. He could have just accidentally whiskey throttled off that thing.
I don't know. He was pretty pissed visibly at his mechanic immediately when he got up. I think it was definitely something wrong with the bike.
Yeah, his mechanic came up and he was like, I don't know what he said, but he was wagging his finger and yelling.
What did he say, Ping?
Well, he said, I am very displeased, sir. Good day. I'm gonna walk off. No, it was yeah, it wasn't good. But
Yeah.
what we've heard, Bruce, is that he's okay, nothing major.
Yeah. From what I've talked to a couple people today, and that he's gonna be okay.
Feelings hurt.
Bro,
Yeah.
that was sketchy. I mean, like he's full boner air off that thing, and then over the bars onto his, like it was a hit.
It could have been a lot worse. Could have been way worse.
Yeah, it could have been after that jump, and he could have made use of a net.
Yeah.
Good thing we had a net there. He didn't use it, but who knows? Matt Gerkey'd that thing.
Crazy, dude. Well, I'm glad he's going to be okay. That was radical.
Yeah.
All right, so go through. What'd you guys think of Coop's ride? Like Eli, I was curious if he'd be able to hold off Jett.
Yeah, he just, those riders that were down and up to that sand section.
Jett Jett was coming. Before that,
once the sand section happened, that was when Jett passed him. It was like once Kenny went down, Eli didn't see how Kenny went down. So he doesn't really know that like his bike caused him to go down. I'm thinking if I'm racing against Kenny Roczen and I come around and he was the guy in second, now he's down with the red cross flag at the end of the whoops. I'm like, damn, this is a tough set of whoops. They took out Kenny. You're kind of probably going to back it off in the whoops. Eli was skimming those things pretty good before that. As soon as he realized that Kenny was no longer behind him, I think he looked back and realized that Jett was a lot closer than maybe he thought, because maybe he was not checking Jett's gap. But in the beginning, Jett came back, and then he was sucking back up on him even before the Roczen crashed. But after that, dude, it was like a different beast a little bit. I mean, he was riding great, but he wasn't still like, fucking looking like he was in beast mode style thing like he was in the beginning of that race. And I think it's because how he was racing Jett, and he missed that rhythm section after the finish 2 laps in a row at the same time that Jett had just pieced it together and saw what they were doing. So now Jett had that. Jett was incredible in the sand. And then Jett had that great line in the whoops, and Jett, once Eli moved to the turn across the start, he moved to the inside and doing that triple. Jett had that down. Jett really, he just sat back there and pieced the track together, figured out what he had to do, and then he was coming. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe Eli didn't tighten up, but he looked like a little different rider. And after he missed the rhythm section, he came into the sand, and I don't even think it was really like a matter of not looking ahead or Jett looking ahead that made that pass happen. I think that Jett, when he went over the triple, if Eli was going to the right, Jett was going to the left. Jett was going wherever he wasn't going, and he was so fast in the sand that it really didn't matter. Eli, by the time he saw those guys, I think he realized, damn, I can't get back to the inside. Jett was already set up for the pass, not to mention he was like almost a second clear immediately.
Yeah, and listen, Jett was coming. I don't think if it didn't happen there with those lappers involved, it was going to happen. Jett had,
even before Kenny fell, Jett was almost all the way back up on him, and he had like dropped back like 4 or 5 seconds before that, sucked right back up on him.
I think there was 2 things about Jett I want to just mention that are super interesting to me. One was after the whoops, hands down was the best guy through that left, which was really tricky. And into that rhythm.
About him getting to the inside. That's what Eli said. He's like, dang, and once he was able to just get to that inside, he was eating me up right there each time.
And the throttle control was insane, the way he'd roll over and then real smooth with the throttle to get that first jump into the rhythm. But it's like everyone else, you'd see him kind of fighting for traction or going real wide and having to pivot. And Jett was like just cruising through there. That was really impressive to me. And then just hit the way his racecraft is, and he's been this way every time I've watched him race. If he doesn't get the whole shot, he kind of settles back. He doesn't like those. He's the opposite of Kenny, where Kenny goes out like a bat out of hell. Jett kind of sits back, figures the track out, watches the guys around him. He'll just kind of hold his position. And then it's usually like between 3 and 6, 7 laps in, almost where you start to go, man, does Jett not have it tonight? And he freaking turns it on, dude. I mean, how quick did he get back to Kenny? He was going by Kenny, shock blow up or not.
Yeah.
And going to the front. Like he figured those rhythms out. He found his lines. And then it's like he just goes, all right, let's go. Like I got the
I don't
track
know if it's
tiled,
by
let's go.
plan or if it's by plan or not, but it actually really works in his favor, you know, like against Eli and stuff, because I think it like lulls them into like a false security because they're like, hey, we're pulling away, you know, and they do a little bit. And then he just pieces it together and starts coming and just overpowers you. You're probably like, you know, you think, oh, I'm doing enough, you know, and then all of a sudden he just starts crushing you. You don't know what to do. But really, I think he almost just sets back and lets that happen. You know, it's kind of like he did that from the front in the outdoors all year. You know, was Chase really about to beat him 8 motos, or was he just really just pacing him? You know,
It's wild. The only guy I've ever seen with a similar vibe is Blake Baggett in the Nationals. He would be kind of back, just sorting it out, and then all of a sudden he'd take off like halfway in or whatever, you know.
yeah.
But it's beautiful to watch. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or that's just him getting comfortable. And then once he gets comfortable, he turns it up. I don't know.
I think he was just really happy to get enough gap that he didn't have Coop able to get on him, and he would have rode there as long as he had to until the race shook out in front of him. I think because I think he knows about Kenny and how Kenny kind of tapers off. And I mean, I've heard him even say it before. You know, like he says how he's going to control it. So I think he's really doing that. It's a pretty good job, really.
Hey, I wonder if he heard what you said last week about friends and foes. Because did you notice how respectful he was with Coop and Eli? Just very complimentary,
buddy,
very
if it's a
polite.
realization that I came to, it's something that Johnny O could have came to long ago. So I don't know. He might have told himself.
Well, if Johnny O should have told him at the start of the season, then I mean,
Yeah.
not that he's ever been rude,
Hey.
but he's done some things to really make some.
I think he's been rude, dude. Let's say I was gonna say this too. Like I mentioned, all those things are people who might not want him to win, you know, the title or be a foe. How about then I saw, well, maybe the fans too, because he's winning races going like this, telling the fans to shut up because they booed him. You remember that? Okay.
Yeah.
It was the track with the Detroit. It was the track with the sand 180 left right before the finish line. He came over the finish. He went like that because the previous race he got booed for the Ando deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
I know. Can you believe these young kids all full of
buddy.
swagger? Can you believe it, J Law? Like, man, unbelievable.
64 to go.
All right. What did you guys think of Coop's ride for third?
I was kind of surprised that I thought for sure he might be able to at least kind of follow Jett a little better, but man, Jett really left him pretty good in that one.
Yeah, and you called this, Jason, too. You said this is a Jett track. Like this is the spot he's going to do well, and you could just see he had way more speed than Coop kind of all day.
Yeah, he's just great at carrying momentum. Coop looks really aggressive though, dude. Like Coop scrubbing and he's putting it in there. When he gets his track, he'll be in a good mindset, it looks like. But he's kind of like poking him in the press conference. He says like, oh yeah, I was behind Jett in the beginning and I could tell he was holding on a little tight. Like he's a little nervous. But then he says like, yeah, then I just couldn't hang with that pace. He said he was trying to worry about all these new lines they were doing and switch up his lines and he lost touch. By the time he started to get in the groove, they were already kind of gone. And he ended up back at the same lines that he wanted to do in the first place. He's like, so I should have just stuck with what I do. I know that's how I do it, you know, and like I spent too much time figuring out the lines. But I think that's the thing that's just why this was a great track because it was developing and dudes were able to do different stuff. I mean, I saw guys go through that rhythm section like 7 or 8 different ways, you know, and things were like progressing. Like you see Jett in the whoops. He's creative in the whoops, dude. Like he does that. He hasn't done it at this race, but he'll come in and he'll do a wheel tap off the starter and then take off like it's like a quadruple wheel tap, but your front tire doesn't have to hit the first whoop. Like he was doing it like in the beginning of the season, but then at this race, he does that triple in, and then instead of sucking up the roller or the starter and then tripling, he just hops over that one. And he doubles and then like triples. And dude, he's able to go so much faster. They're not cupped out. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how he comes up with that. That's like 2 different not that nobody's ever done that before, but like he makes these, like he has a bag of tricks of how he wants to go through the loops.
Crazy. Yeah, he has the racecraft and that just open-mindedness on the track to be able to adapt and make things work of like a really seasoned veteran, which is scary to think where he'll be in a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
When he's already this good.
That's why I'm not really in a rush to see him win the title. You know what I mean? Like, we know where he's going, dude. He's going to the top, you know, and I wouldn't mind a little struggle along the way.
I was pulling for Eli. I thought it'd been cool finish to see him win it. And then
I think Eli thinks he's still winning the title, maybe, because I mean, he definitely ain't racing for Coop. That's for damn sure out there second place.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, like
33 points down.
I was curious if he would pull over, or
I thought that's what was happening. There was a moment where I was like watching the lap board, and I'm like, all right, Coop's 10 seconds down. There's 5 minutes to go. I'm like, right about now, Beast is going to have to put the anchor out if he's not going to make this thing look like Musquin and Dungey situation. You know, you got to start slowing down now. I honestly couldn't believe it. Actually, you know, I was really, really surprised that he beat him. But who knows? Maybe Eli's thinking something different. And if he's still mathematically possible, then how are you going to tell the dude to let him by?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's just a hard place to be in for Star, because you're right. He's mathematically still has a shot. If Jett gets hurt, you know.
But if he would have relinquished those 2 points to Cooper, he would still mathematically have a shot, and it would still be pretty much the same shot, and Cooper would be much more in it.
That's what I'm saying. It's a tough spot for Star to ask him, right?
Yeah.
And asking Eli to lay up and let a guy by.
Star would have been better served benching him for this week. You know, if you look at it, they would have been better off benching it. I don't know.
Eli, we're going to park you.
Would Hunter have finished in between? You know what I'm saying? Would Hunter have finished where Eli finished if the roles were reversed and Hunter was in second and Jett was in third, and that race was winding down with Coop in first?
I don't think so.
No
way. Hunter would have let him by.
No way. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just Tomac. I think it's almost that you can't ask Tomac to do that. You know, you can't. That dude's a fucking legend, bro. You're not going to come to him and say, hey, you're playing for the title now. That's what I think. I think he'll say, hey, bro, I'll take my boots over to the next truck. Maybe. Who knows?
What would Jason Lawrence do?
Oh, but I'll help the homie big time. I'll ride for the buddies. Yeah. I know there's rules against this type of thing, but like, yeah, I don't know. I'll help the buddies.
Yeah.
You'll place a bet on your bud and then come up
or say, hey, this is gonna cost you, but I'll help you.
One time, like Josh Hill was like in 2010, Josh Hill was going for the title before he got hurt, and he was racing one of his first races when he was hurt with his back, and it was in like Indianapolis, and we were in like 9th and 10th. And like I let him by in the last turn because I was thinking like he might need that 1 point. And there was like never a doubt in my mind like if I was gonna let him by. I remember thinking like, oh, I'll be such a jerk to, you know, take these points from this dude. And then now I look back at it and I'm thinking like, probably should have just rode across the finish line. But Josh Hill, what about him, bro? In the main event?
I know. He's dude. Yeah,
his brother almost didn't make it. That would have been crazy. His brother's in the LCQ. I saw Josh was running pretty good, and then he crashed in that rhythm section.
Yeah, it was cool to see him though make it in the heat. You know, not having to go to the LCQ.
The Hill boys are talented, man. It was cool to see them both in there. Was there anyone else in this main event? Like, run through the results, Bruce, and then if anything else, anybody's rides.
Benny Bloss. Oh, Benny the Boss.
Yeah, Benny Bloss. Top 10. Yeah, eighth
place. Yeah. That's good for the beta, but Colt Nichols missed it. Dang, Colt Nichols 10th place in the heat race and then 5th place in the LCQ. It's like, dang, man, where's the gas card when you need it?
Ouch.
You know, like that's a shame there.
Yeah, so you guys know the top 3, Lawrence, Tomac, Webb, and then Anderson with the 4th, Barsha 5th, Justin Cooper 6th, Hunter Lawrence 7th, like we just said, Benny Bloss 8th, Malcolm Stewart 9th, and then you're rounding up the top 10, Vince Freeze.
Fuck him. Hey, so, Malcolm Stewart, is there any correlation here with the next round in the city of brotherly love?
Man,
Will he have extra brotherly love up in the city of Philly down here? Mook was looking hot in that heat race. You saw him?
hey, he was. Dude, I
Dude.
thought, like, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I feel.
Is it contract time? Because Mook, you can turn it up on a dime, bro, if he has to.
Yeah, man,
It's
I don't know.
weird because every season recently, at least the last couple, you hear like, "Oh, dude, he's going so fast preseason, like Mookie's gonna win." And then last year, he actually came out firing in the opening rounds. I think he was, potentially he had the speed.
He had that big endo.
Big endo, and it ruined
it. And he was, that was like the big talk for him. The guys that I was talking to that were training with him, down in Florida, like they're like, dude, he's gonna be the guy this year.
He's still training at Eldon's, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that works? He seems happy, but he seems more like a free spirit type dude. And you got all the knowledge of Bubba. I would think they'd be able to make a program work where Malcolm could kind of flourish as himself a little bit more. I don't know. You don't really like. He was like one of the funniest guys, like one of the best personalities in the sport, along with Plessinger. I'm sure you guys agree. And don't you think that's been like really like choked out as of late with Mook? Like Mook ain't really been showing his personality too much. Like,
but it's hard to tell if that's just because his results are bad, so he kind of just wants to stay low key, or is it being suppressed because of the program? I don't know the answer.
Like the corporate style thing. I think I just being on a factory team and being at Eldon's, but
I think everyone just is kind of different. Like they need that structure. I mean, I don't really want to speak for Jason on this, but Jason, I don't see you ever doing that back in your day.
No, but I mean, I had people that had like guided me though, where I took like a lot of good things away from like Rhino, especially. And I know that Malcolm has that with James. I would kind of think that they would. I thought it was almost a blessing for Malcolm when he was forced to ride for his own member, when it was like this Red Bull Straight Rhythm was starting.
Yeah.
He couldn't get a ride. I thought, well, damn, that's probably gonna be the best for Malcolm. They have their own facility. They don't need a trainer. James knows what's up. The dad wants to be involved. You build your own bike, but then he got good results. And I don't know. I mean, I think Malcolm has way more potential. I think I don't even really want to speak on it because it may just be injuries, things like that. But when they say Malcolm's going fast, I don't think they're lying to you. I think he's just
no.
I will say this though, I'm surprised James isn't more involved. You don't see him like, and maybe he is, maybe he's going out during the week, but like, wouldn't you go out and like be helping your brother? Well, what else are you doing, man? Like your brother's in his prime, like go try to.
Well, if you're James, you might think like, well, damn, why is my brother staying out in Baker's training facility riding an hour down the road when he could be here is what I think. I think if you want to be getting the help from James, then you should probably be hanging out at James's.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting. I'm still impressed with kind of those same guys, Justin Cooper, Hunter Lawrence, obviously Benny Bloss this weekend. Great rides from those guys, and good to see like Hunter getting heat wins. I think next year Hunter's a guy on the box like regularly. I really do. His style, his technique is good. He's a little bit more methodical than Jett. Jett, everything just sort of happens for him. Hunter has to work at it, but you just see like him checking these boxes, heat race wins, up front in the main, like just he's building, right? And I think next year where he's going to be good. All right. Anything else you guys want to add on this one? It was a wild one.
What about the KTM race? So I just recently learned who Sierra Bull is, right? She's a chick, little girl ripper. She got third in the KTM race, but then I was looking at the results and there's some famous names in there. Bud Russell and Embler.
Yeah.
Like there's some big names in there. I was like, dang, that's pretty cool.
Little D's kid. And
that's cool.
Was it Caleb Russell's son or nephew?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, it's funny.
Son. I believe it's his son.
Is it?
Yeah, I think that's what they said. I don't know.
That's pretty cool. Well, all right. How hell of a race. What do you think? We're down to 5 points between Coop and Jett. I kind of feel like Jett kind of hit reset, and I don't know, man. I know there was a lot of Cooper Webb talk as he was building, but I kind of what I saw last night, man, hard to beat that speed when he keeps it harnessed.
Anything can happen, though. I mean, look how this whole series is gone.
So I'm not taking my pedal. I'm not taking my foot off the Webb pedal at all. Webb
me either.
Got the title. Yeah.
All right. Me either. I'm with J-Lo on that one.
Dude, I'll say like next week it'll probably be like Hayden, Thrasher, Bennick. I'm thinking Bennick's gonna like show us something good. You know, Bennick's gotta probably pop through with something good because he was in LCQ. I thought he wasn't gonna make it, and he pulled through and made it. But then what about the little guy who I was just talking about, Cochran? Mm-hmm. How do you think Cochran will be? He might like factor up in there with those dudes too.
Yeah. I mean, if he got a fourth in that heat, that was kind of like a short main if you think about it. You know, it's the top East guys.
Yeah, I think he'll be 6th, 7th, 8th. And I think that'd be a great finish for him.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that he's going to last a full 15 minutes at that pace. You know what I mean? If he does start up front, I just don't know that he can hold on to it. That's tough as a second race ever. But I'm pulling for that kid. Actually, that Casey Cochran kid's cool. I dig him. He's got a funny personality, and
he does.
Talented. Yeah, I like that kid.
Do we call this race Crashville Supercross or Nashville Supercross?
I think Crashville 2024.
That's it, bud. It was pretty great.
Dang. Prayers up for all our riders out there who went tits up and broke something, banged themselves up.
Clayson included.
Oh, did Clayson?
Clayson had a big one, yeah. He had a big crash. There's a bunch of guys went down, dude.
You think it was, I mean, what is it? Like, I would say all the dirt, but like some of the stuff was just fluky, like Roxon's deal, Sexton's deal. The way
super avoidable, dude.
Even the way McAdoo came in, the way McAdoo came into his teammate, like Kitchen didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, like none of those guys made a mistake. It just, it was like circumstances ate them up.
That was one hell of a case of shit happens all over the place out there, huh?
A lot of it. Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about this? I'm wondering about with the starting on the great. I'm almost wondering for my own benefit because I'm trying to got my Loretta's endeavors. But I'm wondering, how did Eli Tomac, how did Chase Sexton, how do they pull these starts? You know, these crazy starts where they're like a bike length out. Obviously, they got a good reaction time, but like, I'm thinking, is there something more to it where, okay, I like to give myself a little space before the gate when it's a dirt gate so I can creep a little bit, right? And get like a little bit of a movement before the gate. Some people like to be all the way up to the gate. We could argue it. But now with this grate, I mean, my grandpa brings this point up. Wouldn't you be better off to go as far back as possible? Mm-hmm. So you have like more time on the grate? Yeah. Does that have something to do with this? Because why have we seen these guys like, dude, this is like 3 crazy starts where it's like you only see them like once in a blue moon style things that are happening on the grates. I was kind of wondering. That was a pretty good point. So you don't see anybody pulled back.
The only time I've ever done a start on a grates was over at Farley Castle last year. First time I've ever started on a grate. And I had my start button, dude. It was like funny car. I was so far down. It took 3 guys to lock this thing in. It wasn't my bike. I just borrowed it. And you can literally just drop the clutch. I hole shotted every single moto.
Really?
So, like, I think once you just get that thing figured out, like Chase's at San Francisco was a fluke. He just went, and luckily the gate dropped. But like Eli's last night, some of these, I think it's just that your reaction timing's great. Your release is perfect, which it's not really a controlled release anymore. You're pretty much just going, it's just a dump. But when you cross into the dirt, you got, it's about keeping your bike straight, right? Because if you watch from behind a lot of these guys, you see them wiggling and doing this, whether that's the rut or they just broke traction because their button is still down, so the back end's light. When these guys can get it down where you come off that grate and you're obviously forward, and as soon as you get to the dirt, you make that transition to the part of the bike where you're getting good traction from the rear. Because think about it, dude. When you get to the dirt, your bike is like this. There's no weight on that rear tire. So you got to watch them when they hit the dirt, trying to find that transition of, I don't want to still be way forward or I'm just spinning. But if you get back too much, a 450, you get too much weight on that rear, and now you're going to wheel it. So it's just the perfect body positioning, finding it right, and it changes week to week because 1 week is really sticky tacky, 1 week's marbly and loose.
Yeah. Yeah, they were
I
talking
think
to
that's
Jett about that in a press conference about his start and if he thought that was a tacky start or not. But that just made me realize what you're saying is that, like, I just did the area qualifier and it wasn't a great, but it was a sand start at WW and it was deep. And I didn't have a start device. And once I got out over the gate, I started on the far inside. I like just ate everybody up because I was able to get on the back, and get my weight. I didn't even realize why that happened until right now. But like I like out whole shot of the Phoenix Honda Heath Harrison on my stock, like, and I'm thinking like, wow, that was weird. Like, why was I just eating these dudes up? I didn't even have a scoop.
they're spinning.
But now that makes sense. Yeah, there you go. We need to come up with something where you can override that button, once it comes off. You shift into third gear and your start mode thing shuts off. We might as well shift into third and somehow unlock your start hook.
Honestly, it would be, if there was a button or a way to do that, I think it'd be beneficial. Other than it might pop up. I don't know how you control that, but anyway. All right, man. Well, crazy race. We got another good one coming up here in Philadelphia, and we're gonna break that down on Sight Lap. J-Law, you can do a track walk for us again?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Philly,
so
the city of brotherly love.
Yeah. What did I say? I say Philly?
Yeah.
And so check it out. We're gonna do something cool this week. For that, we're going to add it to Sight Lap. So be back Thursday. We're going to break this coming weekend's track down. Jason is. We're going to talk about what we're seeing, what we're looking forward to, and it's going to be good. Big thank you to our sponsors again, Rock and Turf, Speed Strap, and Maxxis. Appreciate those guys' support. Support them if you like this show and you want to see it keep coming back. J-Law, thanks, buddy. You guys have a great one, and we'll see you Thursday.
Oh,
see you boys.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys
later.